Good evening, friends. I know it's been a long time, but I'm here with some amazing news. Got a confirmation today, actually, from a second opinion doctor that has read all my testing and results and all of that and has confirmed that my cancer is in remission. Praise God. This is a very affirming day and moment. And it's been quite a journey. And I am so thankful for all the love and support that you guys have expressed, and so many have reached out in the last month plus and expressed concern for me and been continuing to pray for me. And I will explain a little bit about what's been going on. But without bearing the lead is that my cancer is officially in remission. My tumor is virtually non-existent, and all my cancer markers and blood markers are not cancerous anymore. So that is an amazing, amazing development, and I'm just in definitely a wonderful state of joy with that tonight. You can see I've got some hair back, nice positive, probably more hair than I first told you guys that I got. I got some beard hair growing. I mean, I got hairs coming off my ears. I've entered that hair in places you didn't expect it, old man phase, but it's gonna be nice. I may keep a little short buzz cut for a little while, just because it's pretty convenient. We were gone as a family for a vacation for the last 2 weeks, and in a tropical location. Was very nice and very refreshing, and having next to no hair, as it was just starting to grow in about 3 weeks ago, was actually kind of nice. So I may keep it for a little while. But if you want to stick around and hear the story, the journey, stick with me. But in the meantime, thank you for everything, for all the support through the journey. There's still journey to come with testing and confirmations over time with more CT scans. But got sort of the double doctor confirmation today that said that my cancer is definitely in remission, and with proper testing, they expect that I'll be able to be called cancer-free after a few more positive tests, or I guess negative tests, if you look at it that way. Anyway, so if you're sticking around the last month and a half or so, holidays came, Christmas, had my family here. It was really lovely to have been through treatment early December and be in, physical recovery. It's kind of amazing retrospectively to look at where I am today physically versus where at Christmas time, even after 3 weeks of being done with treatment, where I thought I was better, knowing how I still really wasn't better, even though it was so much better than where I was at. So that's a very interesting lesson, is to, I was in a positive mood. It was Christmas time, my family was here, and I was feeling good, but in relation to where I had come from, I was feeling here, whereas now I'm, starting to feel so much more normal. But that perspective of feeling good and thinking about that I was feeling better really helped me. We started this thing with attitude, an attitude of gratitude, and I was just grateful to be through the treatment. Still didn't have a CAT scan to kind of look at the body until after the new year, but just having family surrounding me, Christmas to New Year's, was just wonderful and gave me a lot of hope and support for the future. So I had my CAT scan week after New Year's, and was a little anxious going into it. Part of the process that they don't, tell you much about is that once you've had cancer, the threat of cancer and the fear of cancer and that looming potential of cancer is always in your life and will always be in your life. Knowing that and understanding that and feeling that perspective gives me a whole new understanding, like we talked about perspective last time, but also an empathy for those who have gone through much deeper and more serious cancers than I. So I got the test, and then a few anxious days of waiting before I got to meet with the doctor. When I went into the doctor, she's a very measured woman, and she was, well, your tests look very good, and the tumor is virtually non-existent. We think it's just dead tissue remaining. And for me, I was like, so where's the ringing bells? And And then as a measured doctor, it's like, a few things that we want to make sure we're checking up on and staying aware of. In my chest, there were a few little spots, some darker spots on the CT scan, and I don't think they're cancerous, but I'd like you to get a second opinion. And then all of a sudden, you're like, wait, what? What, is this even possible? And no, it's not really a fear of it being cancerous, but you never know. You've been through this treatment. You never know how the body responds. And so even just right there, second week of January, I get this amazing news that my blood looks good. There's no cancer markers in my blood. The tumor has gone from this size to, barely even there, probably just scar tissue and no signs of cancer or growth or spread or anything. But then there's always this but there may be a little something in a scan. That's a funny thing. I've talked to a lot of people about the phantom scan results since then. My father had something where a CAT scan showed what was a crossing of veins, but it ended up being a little dark spot where they crossed. Anyway, that was one of the reasons I needed the second opinion, and also just wanted to get a second opinion of the whole process. And so I sought the opinion of one of the foremost testicular cancer doctors in the area. And it just turned out schedule-wise, right before I went on vacation, that appointment got canceled. So we had to postpone it all the way till now to get to the place where we got today, which was his confirmation of the oncologist results of that my testicular cancer is in full remission, not expected to be an issue, that the BEP treatments were successful and did their job. My body responded very well to them. He was overwhelmingly positive about that. And he asked me some questions about the potential dots that were seen in my lungs. And he said, I have no concern that they are cancerous in any way. There's no signs that seminoma turns into something in the chest that's never there before. He said, most likely it's a inflammation or a scar tissue. You could have had a cold. And I was like, well, yeah, I had a cold. My son was probably bringing back colds to me every other day from school, and I was coughing, and you remember I was stuffed and all that. He's like, well, that's probably what it was. Oh man, it would have been nice to hear that from my first doctor. But I understand she was working from a place of caution. Let's get a second opinion, have him look at the scans. So it was sort of this process of I'm gonna be feeling so great, but I couldn't fully celebrate it until this moment. All that said, there's never a full celebration to have because I got to get a scan at the end of April, and make sure that nothing has changed. I'm going next week for a flush of the port. I still have the port in because they don't want to surgically remove it till you've really, gone through a few tests and all that. Today's doctor said after your next CT, if it's clean, you can take that port out. So I definitely consider that. It's not something I want to have for life. But I also don't mind having it for going in for a CAT scan. They'll just, pop me in and do the testing, get the blood work. And so probably this early spring or late spring, early summer, we'll be getting this removed, depending on what the test in March says. But what the doctor advised me today is that this type of cancer, like I said in the earliest videos, this type of cancer is not just treatable, it's curable. And it looks to, the BEP regimen that I went through looks to have knocked this out successfully. So just absolutely amazing day of confirmation. And just a praise for the work that God did in my body, the support that everyone showed me, even just the reaching out over the last month and a half. Almost every day someone reached out, I haven't heard from you. And I know I'm just not great at it. I was never great at communicating via social before this, and this whole journey was an experiment of sharing. And I wanted to get away for a little while and just take stock, and going away on vacation with my family for almost 2 weeks. I'll tell you, I had a moment in the ocean. I had paddleboarded out to kind of the middle, out of the bay, and was just in the middle of kind of the ocean, lying on a paddleboard. And I was praying, and I was praying for just God's vision for my future, and the wisdom and trust, and literally huge rainbow popped across the bay, and it just felt like this affirming moment of that I am on the pathway toward healing and this sort of new beginning, having gone through what I went through and become a different man and new understanding. It was just a great moment of hope. The other thing I experienced floating in that buoyant Pacific Ocean was I had, for the first time in 5-6 months, lost awareness of my body in a good way. Like I wasn't thinking about the discomfort in my leg or the horrible nausea and discomfort of the chemo. I was just laying there like, oh goodness, I'm free. I actually was tearing up in the ocean that I just felt free of the disease and free of my body. And it was just a really, really awesome sensation, an awesome feeling. And I would hope that any of you that are going through anything like this could find that moment and even seek that moment, because it really was so healing for me. So that was a really nice development the last couple of weeks. The other thing that I had mentioned back in the last video that I've really been thinking about and thinking through is the concept of empathy and learning how to be a better and more empathetic person. Didn't come naturally to me. It wasn't one of my strengths in the past. And the interesting thing over the last couple of weeks is I found myself trending back into some of the old habits pre-cancer and old unhealthy habits, thought life and even actions or words or things that I knew were my weaknesses. And the different perspective of saying, those little things shouldn't bother me so much, or I shouldn't be as, passionate about something when it should be easy to let go. 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was in that moment and I was living different. And then stuff starts to get back to normal and you realize normal might not have been the best thing, right? The normal way where I was caught in unhealthy habits in any way, whatever they might have been, in this case, just even some attitude or relationship things, we all have those things that are hiccups in our relationships. Getting beyond those in the moment of being down and with cancer was actually easier because I gained this perspective. What I'm learning now is that it's harder to keep that up. It's harder to actually put that into practice in your life. Now, being through the cancer, now I got to dedicate to getting that moment and keeping that moment that I learned as a practice in my life. So that part of growing, learning, and understanding the perspective, but then the empathy and understanding how to feel that moment and feel what other people are feeling after my time has passed. It's a really interesting lesson that I'm trying to absorb and really think through right now to make sure that I become a better person through the process. So, my gosh, 13 minutes already. If you knew me before I started the videos, I'm a talker, and so here's another long talk that if you're still watching, thank you for watching. But I don't know how many more of these I'll do. I guess if you like hearing from me, let me know, and maybe I'll continue sharing at some points. But overall, just a big thank you for joining me on the journey, and thank you for celebrating with me now on the positive news today that my cancer is in remission, and I am on my way toward a new normal, a healthier normal, a better normal than I ever could have imagined pre-cancer. So all the best, and we'll be in touch if it's right in the future. Take care.